Let's talk about lockdown screen time. Let's also discuss whether catching COVID now is better than more vaccine. What about Afghanistan? And a whole lot more. This is Pablo from Hackney, and this is Pablos Podcast. Thank you for joining Pablos Podcast today. Welcome. Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes around in another form. Rumi. Short and sweet and concise and very real. Very real. So, episode 70. We're back again. Sparking debates. Episode 70. So, we're still in August and we've still got the Trinidad and Tobago Independence Day coming up next weekend, the 31st. So I hope everybody takes part and enjoys, but especially the Trinis, the carnival people. Even though there's not going to be no carnival this year, the spirit is still there. So, still enjoy. And if you didn't know, Trinidad and Tobago been independent since 1962. So that is the Independence Day next weekend. So we've got the Soul Fest 2001. I'm really gutted I didn't hear about this earlier because I would have went from the 20th. So it goes on from the 20th to the 22nd of August. Basically bringing the best of British black film talent on both sides of the camera. So they have like master classes and panel discussions, practical sessions, supporting emerging talent. So, really, really good to hear that they're, bringing everybody together and celebrating people in that way. And they partner up with BBC Films and Sony Pictures. So, got some, big business behind it as well. So, but it's an annual event. So, if you miss it this year, obviously you can get involved next year. But this year's one, they're also doing an awards ceremony, so recognising the most exciting black creative talent working in the UK today. So this year is going to be a bit of a special one, but who knows? They may continue that in the years to come. But if you're not doing nothing around the 22nd, or 22nd being the last day, that's definitely something you can find yourself doing. So also, I've got some exciting news in regards to YouTube. I'm really, really looking forward to speaking on that, but I'm going to speak about that a little bit later. But on the other side of the pond, JayZ makes history again. So basically, he's made history this time by hiring the first black cannabis CEO. So obviously, cannabis is big legal business in America and various other parts of the world. Not so in the UK yet. We're always trailing behind, but no doubt that is coming in years to come. But he has, he's hired the first black cannabis CEO. The person, his name's Troy Datcher, and it's a big look because I think obviously cannabis has been around for a while, and it's kind of highlighted for the criminal aspects within certain communities rather than others. So now that it is legal in America, the irony is how small the number of black people of African descent that are actually involved in it at a higher level, which is really, really ironic when you think about it and the history of cannabis. So this is JayZ's way of readdressing the racial inequalities. And in the ever-expanding cannabis industry, basically. So I think recent figures show that only 4.3% of cannabis business owners in the US are black, and white owners up to 81%. 81%. That's massive. That is huge. And Hispanics are at 5.7%, and Asians were at 2.4%. So, not very, definitely something that needed readdressing for sure. And as I said, it's just ironic because of the history of cannabis and how many people have served prison sentences off the back of cannabis, etc. We know the story. So yeah, this is what's happening. But in January, JayZ created he also created a £10 million fund to invest in black-owned cannabis startups. So again, he's trying to readjust the balance in many different ways. So yeah, good luck to Troy Datcher. I'm sure he's going to make some powerful moves with his historic appointment. And yeah, long may it last. And I hope they build on that and, just level it out. Business is business at the end of the day. Should be open playing field for everybody who has the big business acumen and the want and the desire to do it. So yeah, all good. So obviously the schools are off at the moment. In the next few weeks they'll be back, early September, but this is going to be the first time without any restrictions, not having to wear a mask, etc. So what's really come up is talking about COVID-safe ventilation in schools. My thoughts are if we're really going to address this issue, we need to really think about the design of schools. I thought this like mid last year when they was talking about, having classes in bubbles and having less pupils in classes and having people spread out. It just was apparent to me, you need to redesign schools in a way because they were never built with that in mind. And now they're talking about the safe ventilation in schools. Same thing, it's never been designed to have such ventilation for these kind of reasons. So, yeah, it's going to be a massive job. But there are urgent calls for action in regards to ventilation in schools now to slow the spread of COVID when pupils return in September. Can't see how they're going to do all that before September, but you never know. Well, I say that, if you remember back last year when China when China was dealing with COVID, the first people to deal with it, they were building hospitals within a couple of days. So actually, it can be done. Whether England can do it or not is going to be the question. But September's just around the corner. So, but 6 education unions have written to England's educational secretary, warning of the steep rise with COVID and long COVID amongst pupils when they return. So, yeah, they're trying to preempt it, and rightfully so. But yeah, we definitely have to do something different. We can't do anything the same as we did in the past. And in New Zealand, they've entered a nationwide lockdown, basically a snap lockdown, after a man tested positive. The first case they've had in the past 6 months, which is, that's a long time not to have had any cases. But yeah, so they reacted to that immediately. This case was detected in Auckland, and yeah, so they're going into a lockdown for a week, and while the rest of the country be locked down for 3 days. So it's massive. It's a really big thing for them at this point, and they've reported that only 20% of its population have been fully vaccinated. I think in the UK it's about 80% now, maybe probably over that now. But yeah, the minister Jacinda Ardern said that the toughest level 4 rules were required. Basically, schools got to close, offices or businesses, only the essential services remaining will remain operational. Pretty much like our heavy lockdown last year, really. So yeah, and in Australia, the police have arrested hundreds. There's been like anti-lockdown protesters in Melbourne and Sydney on Saturday, and yes, 7 officers hospitalised, major clashes, police is on horses. Again, when I watch it, it just looks like London, when London were having them running battles with the police on horses and, up and down the mall and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's still happening, different places, different times. But yes, but with Australia, their country saw its highest ever single day rise of COVID. Since everything started. So yeah, serious times over there. But again, they haven't bought enough vaccines in these countries, and now this is the outcome of it, is what has been said. So, but yeah, police, like I said, mounted horses, pepper spraying people, crowds. I think the crowd, they talk about like 4,000 people surging towards the police lines and stuff like that. So, yeah, serious business out there. And I mean, I suppose anywhere that is the standard now, isn't it? Like once you go into a lockdown, that means marches, that means rebelling against it. That's what we're going to do. And I'm sure every government knows that that's how it's going to go from now on. So, and, you know, hopefully we've got past the stage of doing lockdowns, fingers crossed. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think I hazard a guess that by September, October, let's say mid-October, we'll know how the rest of our year is going to pan out, and yeah, we'll know if a lockdown is imminent or not, I reckon, by then. You know, I don't want to predict too far forward than that, but yeah, I think around then we'll have an idea if this opening up since July the 19th has, you know, if we're able to do that, if it was a good move at the right time, and if the vaccine is going to do its job in the way that we want it to do its job. So, but reading some stuff from some scientists, they like posted the question, you know, is catching COVID now better than the vaccine? Is catching it more better than the vaccine at this point? Scientists are saying that there's a marked difference in your immune system after a natural infection with COVID and after the vaccination. Her name was Professor Eleanor Riley, a new immunologist. I know I ain't pronounced that right, but yeah, I think you get what I mean. From the University of Edinburgh. And she basically said we could be digging ourselves into a hole for a very long time, basically, where we think that we can only keep COVID away by boosting every year. So basically, if we get into the pattern of doing that, then, you know, when do we stop doing that kind of thing? So that was her career. And then the other professor, Adam Finn, he's the government vaccine advisor, said over-vaccinating people when other parts of the world have none was a bit insane, is what he said. He said it's just inequitable and frankly quite stupid. So harsh words. But this is a planet problem. So I get it. It's a planet problem. So as much as one country might be doing really well, if the planet's not doing well, if other countries are not doing well, then it's all temporary anyway. It's just, you know, whose turn is it next to have a flare-up, you know, and go into lockdown and stuff, because it's one planet, you know. There's no walls between countries that the virus can't get past. So yeah, it all seems a little bit temporary when things are going well, if you can look on the news and look around the world and see other countries and millions of people being negatively affected by infection from COVID. So I definitely get those perspectives for sure. And I think, yeah, the two questions are, the two questions that they posed was, do vaccinated adults need to be boosted, or is exposure to the virus enough? You know, those are the questions. And also, do children need to be vaccinated at all? Or does a lifetime of encountering the virus build a good immune defense? These are the questions. And I think you've got people on both sides. But I do recall through the years, you know, people before COVID, obviously, people talking about, you know, as kids, you know, going out and playing in the dirt and, you know, catching things and getting dirty and stuff like that helps to build your immune system, rather than keeping your children in a bubble away from everything, because eventually they're going to catch stuff. And if they haven't caught it already and, you know, built up an immune defense to it, then that's where the challenges come later on in life. So I get both sides of it, but, you know, I'm not a scientist, but I just kind of use my common sense and what I've been through and what I've learned. So, but I'm sure we'll work it all out. And yeah, but I mean, we've hit the targets that we wanted to hit as a country, what the government wanted to hit. They wanted 80% plus of people vaccinated, and they've done that. Hence why the world's open. Not the world, the country's open in the way it is. So we'll see now. Obviously the vaccines are now being put to the test in the UK at least. So we'll see. But it takes time to see. And that's what I was talking about, mid-October. By then we should have collected enough data to let us predict the months past October. So we'll see. So sadly, there's been one death through youth violence. A young person lost his life. Otas Sardas, age 20, was shot on the 18th of August and later died in hospital on the 20th of August. Happened in Newham. Really sad. My condolences to the family and friends and everybody involved. They haven't arrested anybody yet off of the back of that. But yeah, youth violence is still a thing. So yeah, my condolences to the family, for sure. Welcome to Pablos Podcast. Join me on a weekly basis with social commentary on current affairs which affect us the most. Come and muse with me. What you can expect is uplifting, positive discussions, interviews on our social, physical and cultural well-being. Voicing some of the perspectives we share but maybe don't vocalise enough. I'll be going through my bucket list of interviewees over the coming weeks. You're guaranteed to get an honest, authentic perspective and insight into what's going on now. If you like what you hear, please click the subscribe button. Please share on your social media apps. And please leave a review. Look forward to spending some time with you over these coming weeks. Thanks for joining me. Take care. So the biggest news this week and for the foreseeable future, to be fair, is Afghanistan. American and the UK troops have left Afghanistan, and the Taliban didn't waste time in taking over. With my limited knowledge of everything that goes on over there, it just looks like everything's gone back to normal. Back to normal in regards to everybody in fear. People being in fear of their life, and the people who we know as being terrorists have taken over that city again. So this is going to be in the news for a long time. But the visual scenes of this, just horrific. Scenes of women really, you can hear and you can see, the fear in the women's eyes especially, and the children as well crying, and basically they're trying to escape Afghanistan while they can, while the troops are leaving, and they're willing to take some people out if they've got the right documentation. Everybody's trying to get on those planes, to leave, because there is going to come a time, as much as that's happening now, there is going to come a time when, the last plane has left, and whoever isn't on it is got to deal with the Taliban and whatever Afghanistan brings for them. So everybody's trying everything to get out. Which is so sad to see, so sad to see. And now the Taliban have stepped up their searches, looking for people who used to work for NATO or, work for the UK or America. And God knows what's going to happen to them, once they knock on the door and find these people that used to work with the governments there, the NATO forces. So yeah, a lot is still going on. A lot is still to be said, even though I have heard some things with the Taliban saying, there's not going to be no violence and no reprisals and stuff like that. But it sounds like the majority of people don't believe them because, they've lived through the Taliban ruling things before. So yeah, but like I said, some of the scenes have been horrific. And I think that the biggest one for me was watching everybody trying to clamour to get on this plane. It looked like just thousands of people trying to get on a plane. No, you couldn't see the floor, people hanging off the stairs, etc. But the worst bit was once the plane had gone up, you could see people falling from the plane. The plane's like hundreds of feet in the air, and you could see people that were just determined, not to let go and just go with the plane, and you got to think about the desperation for somebody to hold onto an aeroplane and let that plane take off while they're holding onto the aeroplane. But yeah, just horrific to see that, like I said, to see bodies falling from the plane in the distance, hundreds of feet. So yeah. My thought, I didn't think I'd see something. Couldn't even comprehend whether I would see something like that in my lifetime. But it's just shocking to have seen that, in my life. So, but yeah, my thoughts and prayers go out for all of those people out there, and hopefully, all you can do is hope that the Taliban stick to their word. Everybody can change. You got to just hope, because as I said, at some stage those planes are going to stop going back and forth to Afghanistan, and people are going to have to fend for themselves and deal with what comes. So yeah, really sad. So back in the UK, at HMP Low Newton, David Whitfield, 36 years old, from South Shields, he was basically taking advantage of women between 2011 and 2016 at the prison in Durham. And he's basically been jailed for 6 years and 9 months. So what he was doing is, this is a prison officer of a women's prison, and he was demanding sexual favours from 12 inmates in return for cell privileges, etc. So yeah, obviously, totally violated his role and these 12 women, So yeah, he's going to do his 6 years and 9 months. Yeah, disgusting, absolutely disgusting. I don't need to really elaborate anymore on that. But the Plymouth murderer, Jake Davison. So with everything that he done, murdering the people in his city, including his mum. For the first time, I heard this word, incels, and I had never heard of it before. Never knew nothing of it. So I kind of dug into it a bit, and who would have guessed that there was such a thing? So basically, Incels is a movement linked to serious violence around the world. It's been about for about 30 years. And some people have been asking for it to be called a terror group, but some security experts are saying that the ideology, it would be wrong to call this ideology a terrorist group. So, yeah, some back and forth in regards to that. But in short, incel is short for involuntary celibate. So people who define themselves as incel basically say that they can't get a sex life despite the fact that they want to be in a relationship. And yeah, off of the back of that, they have hatred towards women. They have hatred towards men who are in relationships with women and stuff like that, which is so bizarre. It just sounds so bizarre. And the fact that it's been around for 30 years, I mean, just hearing something like that, my instinct would have said, oh, this is something that the internet's created and stuff like that. But this has been around for 30 years. No doubt the internet has hyped it up a bit and made it more accessible to more people. But this is crazy sounding, absolutely crazy sounding. But yeah, like I said, the idea goes back to 30 years ago, and it was popularized by support for lonely people who felt left behind, basically. But yeah, it's some of the forums are full of self-pity. They talk about self-pity and dominated by grievances as well. And yeah, just men, and I'm sure it sounds like it's just men who really resent the fact that women are withholding sex from them, basically, in a nutshell. And then they promote violence towards women, or couples, or, men who are lucky enough to be in a relationship, things like that. So, but not recently, but it's said now that many of the followers at the extreme end incel culture share conspiracy theories like the views of the far right. So many far right they kind of people, they kind of share the same. There's stuff that kind of crosses over with them. So well, far right incels, again, it's just all stuff that just sounds so ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Is it a terrorist group? I don't know. I mean, I think any group that rains terror on people could be considered a terror group, I would have thought. If this group's known to rain terror on women, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's bigger minds than mine that'll work that out. But yeah, but definitely something needs to be done about them. That I don't think can be debated. Something definitely needs to be done about them because it's definitely not right. So also a West Mercia police officer that died. Well, they found him dead with a child. It's now come to light that he murdered his son and took his own life. David Loudon, 39, Constable David Loudon, yeah. So this happened in Kidderminster a while back. So who knows what was going on, for that to happen. The son's name was Harrison. My condolences go out to the families of these people that had lost their grandson, especially, and the son. But the officer's late wife and the wider family had just expressed deep shock, grief, devastation, and the aftermath of their loss. So, which is obviously understandable. But yeah, who knows what was going through his mind at that time specifically. So, Devon and Cornwall police officer has been charged and given his final written warning by the police disciplinary panel. So it's basically gross misconduct found to be in breach of his the professional standards, etc. His name's Sergeant Geraint Jones, 47. So what he'd done, he was sending out grossly offensive images and memes relating to George Floyd. And as a police officer, serving police officer, it's like, come on, this is something that happened via the police, and it's just, it's just something nobody should need to explain to somebody, 47-year-old police officer. But glad he got caught. Glad he's having to deal with that. Should he have got a harsher sentence than a final written warning? It's debatable, but I do think back to the case of another officer having some things on her phone that she shouldn't have, and the police wanted her out. So I don't know, maybe because it was different content, but nevertheless, this officer should know better. But it speaks to his mindset, etc. So hey. So also another officer, it was in court for voyeurism charges. Jean Renoir Janga, 36, appeared at Manchester Court on Friday, and he's convicted of 6 counts of voyeurism at the hearing. Charged with, basically, it was 11 videos was discovered on his phone, and he had been filming police staff in the toilets in Greater Manchester police premises on several occasions in October 2017, I think. And yeah, all of the victims were staff members. But he was sentenced to 18-month community order, also sexual harm prevention order, valid for the next 5 years, a sex offender notification requirement, valid for 5 years as well, and mobile phone forfeiture order. So all of those stipulations. It's just really it's just interesting how this sort of stuff goes on, and it kind of flies below the radar. You don't hear about this stuff, but I think because these are public servants, these are people who we have to respect and have to, these are people there to uphold the law. So I think the least we could do is let these things be known when they're happening, so we're paying for them. We look to them for our support, etc. So we should know what's going on, the good, bad, and indifferent. I think because at the end of the day they are human, but it does. I mean, hearing all of these various different things with various different police officers, it does make me think that their training, their supervision of these officers, their camera setups in the police station. I don't know, there's just stuff that they should be doing to kind of weed these people out before they get into the force or, before they start acting up in these ways. So, yeah. Anyhow, on a lighter note, Nubia Garcia, a young artist of Guyanese and Trinidad descent, and she's born in Camden. She has been shortlisted for the Mercury Prize. She's a saxophonist, and she will be. Basically, her music celebrates the rich British Caribbean rhythms and things like that. So she's also be doing an event at the Royal Albert Hall, performing her tracks from her LP, which, as I said, they'll be sprinkled with like reggae, dub, calypso, soca, in her solo concert. So yeah, and her concerts for the BBC Proms. So hopefully that is on TV. Probably be on the iPlayer or something like that. But I really look forward to hearing some of her stuff. Nubia Garcia. So she's shortlisted, and hopefully she wins it. Depends who she's up against, but the fact that she's her hat's in the ring is good. So I wish her all the best with that. So with all these lockdowns we spoke about earlier, one of the things that are happening off the back of that, they're calling it lockdown screen time. So basically across the country, the medical people are saying they're diagnosing higher numbers of children with short-sightedness, myopia, I think they call it. And basically the numbers have gone up since the start of the pandemic. But they said this is due to less time being spent outside due to the restrictions, more time being spent on the screens, which is something I always talk about within my circles, the amount of time we spend on screens. So yeah, the College of Optimists, I cannot pronounce some of these words, Optimists. I've really butchered that word, I know. But the people that deal with eyesight, they're calling for parents to get their kids playing outside for more than 2 hours a day, as it's proven to prevent and stop the development of myopia. So yeah, and also obviously still taking your kids for regular eye tests as well. But yeah, this was always going to be one of the outcomes of COVID, being locked up in the house. And also another thing that COVID's brought is with the increased mental health. So mental health monthly referrals across the UK at the highest point for the last 2 years. So it's gradually getting higher and higher. So that is concerning, because I personally don't think we've reached the peak of the mental health issues that we're going to be dealing with. And we've got the full moon we've got full moon 22nd, the sturgeon moon. Why do they call it the sturgeon moon? In North America, North American fishing tribes called the August full moon, the sturgeon moon, because the species of fish appeared in high numbers during that month. So there you go. Now you know. Sadly, due to Haiti's earthquake that we spoke about the past few weeks, the death toll has risen, to more than 2,000 now. More than 12,000 people have been left injured. Over 300 still missing after the 7.2 magnitude earthquake. So yeah, and then to add to that, they've had the storm as well. So the rescue situation has been hampered by the rains brought by Tropical Storm Grace. So yeah, my thoughts and prayers go out to those people out there, and anything you can do, charity wise, etc. Please do, because these people are going to be going through it for a while. That is for sure. So on the TV, Mastermind gets a new host. We spoke about this a few months back. Clive Myrie, the news broadcaster, he will be hosting Mastermind from Monday, the 23rd of August. So I'm sure he's going to do a sterling job. I definitely look forward to seeing what he does. Bring a little bit of swag to that show because it has got a bit dry over the year. So hopefully he can spice it up a little. I was talking about YouTube earlier. Yes, so finally we're launching Pablos Podcast YouTube channel. So you can now view, listen, read, all of that on YouTube. We're going to be doing loads of things via YouTube going forward now that the channel's launched. So please check it out. Please share it. Please like it. Please subscribe. And, it's another platform where you can get access to the audio, but also the up-and-coming visuals related to Pablo's podcast. So I've got a few things happening in the coming months. So please stay tuned, share it, like it, and subscribe. So other than that, I'm going to let you guys enjoy your week, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and just get out there, as we say, get the blood moving, get moving around. It's a little bit wet out there at the moment, but if you've got the right clothes on, you got your umbrella, you won't feel it. So don't let the weather stop you from getting out there. So thank you again for choosing Pablo's podcast today, and hopefully you can join me on the next one. Until then, take care and be nice to each other. Thank you for listening to Pablo's podcast. I'm Pablo from Hackney, and you can catch me next week for more healthy discussion.